Okay, thank you to this panel. If you'll leave out that door, the next panel will be Candace Davon, Tessa Hunt, Lori Aigles-Rich, Laura Corman, Hoya Brooks, Sydney Casey. They will be followed by Christine Cranley, Guadalupe Switala, the Momon, Suzanne Hemphill, Sharon Williams, and Rabia Ali. Candace Davon? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Candace Davon speaking for myself. I'm from San Antonio, and I am supportive of SB1 because I've been hurt by the abortion industry, and I am a constituent of Senator Uresti. When I was 16, I became pregnant, and I tried to hide it from my family for a while, and upon my father finding out, he forced me to have an abortion, and so I personally didn't have a choice. When I arrived at the clinic, I was asked in my quote-unquote counseling session if I wanted to go through with the abortion. I told them that I was being forced to do it by my father, who was out in the waiting room. No one advocated for me. During the ultrasound, the screen was immediately turned away from me. The nurse had an odd look on her face and left the room to get a doctor. There was some indication that I might be carrying twins. I immediately asked to see the screen and even lifted up off the table so that I could see my baby. The nurse turned the screen farther so that I could not see it, despite asking. I believe that I had seen the screen that day. I may have had the courage to get up. And on that note, I would just like to ask if you could get your hands on this video called The Silent Scream, since this is about the fetal pain. It shows an ultrasound of a 12-week baby being aborted. And as soon as the instrument is inserted into the cervix, the baby immediately senses danger and just tries to get away from it, and you can see it moving to one side of the womb, and upon the instrument touching the baby, the suction instrument, the baby's mouth opens to indicate the silent scream. And so if you're able to watch that, I challenge you to watch that and decide for yourself if in fact a baby can feel pain, and I believe babies can feel pain. Thank you.
Hunt?
Hi everybody, my name is Tessa Hunt and I've lived here since 1992. HB2 didn't provide information for the proposed ASD upgrades beyond its intent to keep women safe and healthy. There isn't much information in SB1 either, only a deadline, so I did some research. Becoming ASD licensed is tedious and expensive. The initial fee to begin the process is a non-refundable $5,000, and ultimately whether or not the facility is licensed is left to the discretion of the local zone office staff. If we assume a standard clinic is 3,720 square feet, that of the 7th Street Planned Parenthood, and we assume a renovation cost of $100 a square foot, to upgrade that clinic would hypothetically cost $372,000. This is a very low estimate that excludes fees, taxes, and delays. Once building codes are met and equipment and furnishings are purchased, the cost may be as high as $200 or $300 a square foot. If 37 clinics have the low renovation cost of $372,000 each, we're looking at a low net upgrade cost of roughly $13.8 million. If the clinic's renovations incur a higher cost per square foot, each clinic could be facing a cost of $1.1 million for a net upgrade cost of over $40 million. The deadline for these renovations is 14 months from now on September 1st, 2014. There exists no architect, engineer, or construction team that could comply with the strict ASD standards in this time frame. These clinics are vital resources. Unintentional pregnancies arise from ignorance, and the clinic is a source of knowledge. If a woman doesn't know missing a period is a simple early pregnancy indicator, she won't know she's expecting. Some women in their first pregnancies don't start showing baby bumps until 20 weeks. If she doesn't know she's pregnant, she can't abort early. Whether it is to monitor the pregnancy's, whether clinical access is to monitor the pregnancy's progress or to terminate is irrelevant because she has a right to medical care from medical personnel in a medical setting. The upgrade parameters are unreasonable and impossible to comply with. This bill is illogical and it is fundamentally flawed. Thank you.
Ms. Aigles-Rich?
Aigles.
Aigles.
Lori Aigles-Rich, and I am a resident of Kendall County, Texas. Dr. Donna Campbell is my senator. I am an RN with a Master of Science in Nursing, and I'm in support of this bill, of course, especially Section 2 for the safety, but not because I'm an RN necessarily, but because of a personal issue. When I was 18 years old, I found myself pregnant, living with an older man who wanted me to have an abortion. We went to the clinic in San Antonio, he, myself, and my friend. They wanted the money, make sure I was 18, signed some forms. They took me to the back by myself. In my mind, I knew it was wrong and I didn't really want it. They put me on the table. The woman was standing next to me. The man came in, a very young doctor, put a drape over my legs, put them in the stirrups, and said he was going to start dilating my cervix with rods. And I sat up and I said, no, I've changed my mind. I want to keep my baby. I was awake. I was not sedated. The woman grabbed my arms, my hands. I was smaller, about 90 pounds. She held them down to my chest and pushed me down. She told me it was too late to change my mind. And she took her other hand and spread my leg apart, and he did the abortion, and the whole time I screamed, no, and to stop, and then I went into shock. She gave me a pad, told me to walk off the cramps, and I wanted to see my baby. I wanted to say goodbye, and they wouldn't let me. They put smelling salts under my nose and told me to leave because I was disturbing other patients, and I ended up with infection and bleeding and fever and had to be treated by another doctor because they didn't have after-hours doctors. And this clinic is still open in San Antonio to this day. So I pray that this passes so that there could be some safety measures and no one has to go through this.
Thank you. Ms. Corman?
Laura Corman. I live in Austin, Texas. Kurt Watson is my senator. We live in a state the same size as France, and we measure our South Texas ranches in Rhode Island. I think it's important to think about women in South Texas when considering SB1. Imagine facing a crisis pregnancy and having to get up, travel past a couple of Rhode Islands, get to San Antonio, find a hotel, go to the ambulatory surgical center, have an invasive ultrasound, wait 24 hours, come back the next day, have an abortion, and then travel back home past those Rhode Islands. The doctor would recommend that kind of travel post-abortion, and what woman in this situation would be able to take another day off and spend another night in a hotel? So home past the Rhode Island she will go, and she'll have to have money for the trip, the hotel, and $1,200 for the ambulatory surgical center where the abortion will be performed. When SB1 passes, this will be the new reality in the state of Texas. How will women with problems like I had, endometriosis, who live in these regions, get the health care that they need? Endometriosis ruled my life for 27 years. It's not a disease that gets diagnosed by a family doctor. You need a specialized doctor to help you with that problem. If women aren't able to have access to women's clinics and specialized physicians, these diseases won't go away, and they will sterilize a woman because your ovaries will become adhered to the pelvic wall. Women have to have access to high-quality medical care, and closing down 37 clinics, making women travel across the state, this is an undue burden, and it's unfair. It's not fair that those of us who live in urban centers will always have access to high-quality health care, and women who live in rural Texas won't. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brooks?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I am from San Antonio, Texas.
Will you state your name, please?
My name is Gaia Brooks, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas. My precious senator is Senator Donna Campbell. I thank you, Senator Hager, for bringing this bill up. My sister, and many families that I know, I have a family right now that I'm very close to, and she had an abortion when she was younger. She was not able to conceive later in life, and so she has actually had to adopt. My sister and many other families that I know are adopting children from other countries. My sister has adopted a daughter from China and a baby boy from Taiwan. There's no reason for these babies after 20 weeks to be aborted. These are living babies. These babies are wanted right here in Texas. Our Creator knew us before we were knit together and formed in our mother's womb. These babies have a complete new DNA from their mother. They are separate, and they have the taken and killed, and it's not right. After 20 weeks, these babies can live. I have seen many examples of these babies that are wanted. I understand if this is an unwanted pregnancy, but it's not an unwanted baby. The baby is not a mistake. Many couples want to adopt these precious little lives. Families are in waiting right now. Our Father says, I set before you life and death. Life brings a blessing and death brings a curse, not only for these babies, but also for their mothers. I have dealt with many ladies who are going through emotional pain decades later after an abortion. We need to choose life. Thank you.
Ms. Casey?
Thank you. My name is Sydney Casey, and I live in Austin, Texas. I'm here representing myself, but I am also a hotline volunteer for the Lilith Fund, headquartered here in Austin. It's an organization that helps women afford abortion procedures that they desperately need to obtain. It is my belief that the regulations of SB1 create considerable barriers specifically for low-income women, women on the border, and in the West, to not just abortions, but also sex education and contraception. I believe that due to this bill will force those clinics to close in those areas, and I believe these regulations place an undue burden on women and their clinics. In our current situation, abortion is already difficult for many to access, but if SB1 passes, abortion becomes a privilege of our socioeconomic status and no longer a right. SB1 is a targeted attack on abortion providers, but it is also a targeted attack on poor women. I think it is worth noting that the abortion rate in countries where it is illegal is almost twice that of countries where it is not. It is my belief that this legislation will not decrease the number of abortions in our state. I think it will make it make unsafe alternatives more readily available and result in the loss of even more lives. And I ask, what's so pro-life about that? I would prefer to see a new interest in sex ed contraception education. In my opinion, I think the restrictions to access for these low-income women, they don't consider the root of the problem. Instead, they just attack the rights and dignity of half of our state's population. I believe that people in our state deserve the most accurate information on the whole spectrum of our options when it comes to reproductive rights, including how to prevent unwanted pregnancies in the first place. This is just an aside. Senator Dewell described abortion as an American Holocaust this morning, and I would like to remind him of what Elie Wiesel, a Holocaust survivor and Nobel Peace Prize winner, said in response to such claims. Those who relate to abortion to the Holocaust prove that they do not know what the Holocaust was.
I want to thank this panel and